The stage was set, the cameras rolled, and the audience was buzzing with anticipation. Late Night with Seth Meyers had hosted its fair share of controversial guests, but tonight promised to be different. Karoline Leavitt, known for her unapologetic stance on media bias, was about to go head-to-head with one of late-night television's most relentless hosts. Seth Meyers leaned back in his chair with a knowing smirk. "Karoline, you've been quite vocal about the so-called liberal media. Do you really think the press is out to get conservatives, or is that just a convenient excuse?" Karoline didn't miss a beat. "Seth, let me ask you, when was the last time your show criticized a Democrat with the same intensity you go after conservatives? Or does comedy only work in one direction?" The audience let out a collective, "Ooh." The battle had begun. Meyers chuckled, flipping through his notes. "Come on, Karoline, we hold everyone accountable. If conservatives feel attacked, maybe it's because their policies don't hold up under scrutiny." Karoline leaned forward, unwavering. "Or maybe it's because shows like yours act as an extension of the DNC. It's easy to call it holding people accountable when you're only aiming one way. Let's be real. Your audience doesn't tune in for balanced debate. They tune in to watch conservatives get mocked." Meyers opened his mouth, but Karoline pressed on. "You claim to challenge power, but when was the last time you seriously grilled a left-wing politician? If this show were truly about holding everyone accountable, you'd ask tough questions to both sides," the audience murmured. Some clapped, others weren't so sure. Seth's smirk wavered for just a moment before he regained his composure. Seth took a deep breath. "All right, Karoline. You worked for Trump, a man who spent years calling the media the enemy of the people. Shouldn't journalists push back against that kind of rhetoric?" Karoline smiled. "And yet, those same journalists never seemed to mind when Biden labeled half the country as extremists. Funny how outrage is selective." Meyers blinked, momentarily. Caught off guard, the audience was silent. She continued, her tone razor-sharp. "You don't want pushback, Seth. You want compliance. You don't challenge power. You reinforce it, so long as it aligns with your worldview. That's not journalism. That's activism with a laugh track." More applause. The balance of the room was shifting. Meyers let out a forced chuckle. "I have to say, Karoline, you certainly know how to keep things interesting." She tilted her head slightly. "That's what happens when you invite someone who isn't afraid to challenge the script." The segment wrapped up, but the impact lingered. Social media exploded. Clips of the interview were everywhere. Conservatives praised Karoline's takedown, while liberals debated whether Meyers had underestimated his guest. As the show cut to commercial, Karoline turned to the audience with a final thought. Should late-night hosts challenge all viewpoints fairly, or are they just entertainment for one side? The perfect closing question, one that ensured the debate would rage. Well, after the cameras stopped rolling,